It is the RIOT podcast. We've made it through the week.
Oh, my gosh.
And what a week it was.
Congratulations on a full week.
Yeah.
Last week was Hudson's first week, but we didn't have work on Monday.
That's right.
So this was your very first official RIOT full week.
Doesn't that feel like an eternity ago already?
It does.
It was just Memorial Day.
I know. Time goes by so quick. And this has been a busy week for RadioU. So I feel like it's been extra long this week, but you're now going to be on your third week next week.
I just had a horrible thought.
What?
How
this is the rest of your life?
Well, no.
And you'll get up this early every day till you die?
It feels like
that
it, but the problem is, isn't July 4th on a Sunday?
We're not getting a time off.
We don't get Monday off, do we?
We don't get Monday.
We don't get
Friday.
another day off until Labor Day.
Well, we can.
We can. But we've talked about it on the show before. There's so much other stuff taking up our vacation days, at least for me, that is
maybe I got a lot.
Not as much what I would choose for my vacation.
Do you want me to try to make it happen? Be like, hey, we're going to still, even though it's on a weekend, we're going to still have a day off as a station.
On the
I'd rather have
the
it
calendar
Friday.
says July 4th observed, I think. So we can observe it.
Yeah, because it's on a Sunday, so technically it should be Monday.
But I would want to observe it on a Friday if it were up to me.
I would too.
So we can think about that.
How about as podcast listeners, you text or email 877-2RadioU or riot@radiou.com. You're just concerned about the well-being of the new host.
Direct that towards management.
And you want to make sure that, he's very much Canadian-American, though. And that...
Ooh, wait. Canada Day is July 1st. We can take that off.
Okay, can you put that down for Monday? We need to talk about that more.
All right. I'll add it right now.
I think I need to look into the handbook to see, can we? But if we can take Canadian holidays off for you, then we will.
Some places, they'll have special religious exemptions and stuff for certain holidays. I think I should get a special Canadian exemption.
Oh, my gosh. All right.
If I can't work, you can't work. You can't do the show
We can't do the show. Yes.
And we're running out of people to fill in, so...
That would be amazing. Okay, we'll talk about that on the next podcast.
All right. But in this podcast, which we haven't even talked about yet.
Oops.
We get to cicada pee.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for that. What else do we have to watch out for?
We talk about the most livable cities around the world.
That was surprising a little bit, but a good conversation with that one. There's some anime talk, which we were just so excited for.
There's the new He-Man trailer, and supposedly Lord of the Rings, there's going to be a new animated movie.
Yes. We'll see about that. Mm-hmm. We'll just have to see. And this one was a good one as well. The AC is fixed here. Oh, yes. That's actually going to be the first thing you hear us talk about is the air conditioning is fixed.
Let me send the cold air to you. It actually started to get a little stuffier feeling. And I told Chris and he came and he turned it down more.
Ooh, and now, 68. We're
now
living large here. I almost don't want to leave the studio.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. There's a lot more. So enjoy all of our podcasts for today.
Yes. And have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The RIOT isn't all bad, but this is the worst of the RIOT. RadioU.
We now feel the air conditioning blowing down.
Mainly because, we're on in the mornings before the studio would really warm up.
Yep. Although there is a lot of hot air in here.
Well, actually, it is true. And it did raise the temperature.
It did.
But basically, I don't know, I feel like it was a month or so ago, the AC wasn't working so well in here.
As soon as we really started to need it, it stopped working.
That very first week that it really warmed up in our area. So they came out to fix it, but it didn't get fixed.
It wasn't just, the one thing, according to Chris, the initial problem got fixed.
Yeah.
And then within a couple days, another problem that was worse had popped up.
And probably again, because you don't know these things until it really starts to have to cool things down.
Yeah.
And because that was such the hot time and we would have fans going on and man, you just get used to the sound of the fans.
Yeah, it's a nice, the white noise in the background. It
was a lot.
It can be calming, but it also can be, you miss it once it's gone, but it can also really do your head in as well.
I know, because now you're like, oh my gosh, it's silent. I need some sort of extra noise.
We have to sit and think with our thoughts.
Yeah, but thankfully they put in a whole new unit yesterday.
Yes, and they did a good job because it's working.
I know, it feels nice.
I was thinking when they got here yesterday, they came upstairs because they had to get into the attic to, work with all the duct work and stuff, I'm sure. So it's these two guys, and they're not far from my office.
Sure.
And also, to get into the attic, the attic is right near the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And right after they got here, I happened to go to the bathroom. And there's an air vent into the bathroom. And then I started thinking like, oh no, what if they can see? What if they're looking down? And then I was like, I thought, why would they be looking down at you? What?
Well, I don't know. That is a good question, though. You're like, wait, can you see or can you hear now? Like extra good?
The hearing, that's a good question.
Because now the whatever would have been blocking it or something is way open.
Yep.
Did you just go to the downstairs bathroom or did you stay there?
Well, I was already, it didn't occur to me till partway through.
You're like, hello? Are you up there?
I was holding my hand up. Don't look.
Look at me. I have to go to the bathroom. Just fix it. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, those are good things to remember when workers come over to work on something.
I think this is a disease, though.
Why?
Where you just think you're the center of the universe. And so in my mind, it's all wrapped around me. And I'm not thinking about them fixing the air conditioning, thinking about how they are observing me,
Go to the bathroom.
As if I'm the star of the movie.
I understand that sort of disorder and that sort of thinking, but in this case, that's not a bad. It was
justified.
It was justified because if they're able to look in, like, hi guys, go to the bathroom. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I
Please
don't even know.
Each morning, I'm on the RIOT now.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna flush now.
I'm gonna just keep flushing, so at least they couldn't hear. But
you turn the water on.
Yep. They might be wondering what was going on, though.
Well,
then that would make them need to look.
It would.
So
they're like, oh my gosh, is there a flood going on in the bathroom?
I think you guys, we don't know how to fix the toilets, by the way, in case you're wondering.
It keeps flushing over and over again. Well, all right. So good news is hopefully they weren't looking in.
Yep.
And second, that they couldn't hear any better.
Yep. We don't know, but we're going to say they couldn't.
The AC's fixed in the studio and we don't need the fans anymore. So right in time for the weekend.
Yep. And that's what really matters. And you know what? If they fix the AC and they gave us a good price on it, then they can look all they want, I guess.
I have a comment, but I'm not going to say it.
People who are the best get awards. People who are the worst get their own podcast. The Worst of the Riot.
It is time to go back to school.
Ooh, where are we going?
Are you smarter than a fifth grader, Nikki?
Oh, I don't want to be the one.
We're going to take you back to biology or geography, whatever class this would be. Nikki, first of all, how many oceans are there?
3, 4, 5.
You can't just list all the numbers.
Hey, Hudson, I'm sorry, but we're all one world here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I don't.
When you think about it, all the oceans are joined together.
I don't see different oceans, so I'm going to say one world ocean.
Okay, that works in my mind, but it's not scientifically or how National Geographic sees it.
Well, how many do they say?
It's kind of a trick question because it used to be 4.
Yeah.
Now there's 5.
Well, where'd we add one? Are we just naming it?
Which oceans can you name?
Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, Arctic.
Yeah, that's actually the original 4. Yay! I didn't think you would get that because you didn't know how many there are, but you do know the original 4 oceans.
Where are we adding
the original 4, because we just got a new ocean.
Uh-huh.
I was just going to try to make up something about how it's like a new location, but it's not. It's an ocean that's always been there.
They're just naming it.
They're calling it the Southern Ocean, which is the ocean that goes around Antarctica.
Oh, okay. So now that will be its own.
Now, we all have to question, this is just like if you grew up with Pluto as a planet and you have to totally relearn, you have to reprogram your mind.
If you recognize
that
it.
There's only, how many planets are there? 7, 8,
well,
9?
That's your question.
That's
I'm not
my
answering
question.
that one.
In my mind, Pluto is a planet. And in my mind, I'll be honest, I didn't know how many oceans there were. I thought there was 5.
Yeah.
I thought there was like a Australian or like an Antarctic. And I just don't know. Again, all the oceans are joined together. How do we know where the border is? How can we decide?
I guess
Oceans have no borders.
This is just what they're saying. So now the Antarctic one is officially recognized?
Yeah.
Or?
It's
Okay.
called the Southern Ocean, though.
All right,
Because it's in
well.
the Southern Hemisphere, obviously, at the South Pole, I guess.
Now, Hudson, I don't know. Maybe you're wrong.
It's National
You know,
Geographic.
what's really does anybody else feel this way? You're like, you know all this stuff. Like, you learned all this stuff. And when someone asks you years later,
Yep.
you're like, I can't remember any of it.
Well, because what good does it do you? What has
It's in there somewhere.
all these years since we were in school? It hasn't been that many, but like already we have not had to use this ocean information once in our lives until this point, and still this is really useless knowledge now.
Yeah, but it's just good to still remember stuff. And I feel bad because, it's not like we're not traveling right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to all these oceans. Like, most of them you'll never see.
I just feel, sometimes we make ourselves feel bad because our minds are filled with other useless information that we didn't learn in school.
Yeah.
That all the movie characters remember,
Yeah.
the movie lines,
Yeah.
and, all this stuff, all these like RadioU throwback bands that really don't benefit anybody that we have them stored in our mind. But neither does knowing the oceans.
I think we just need to have a healthy amount of both. And since there's not many oceans to remember, we should remember
We
more.
should be able to do it. We should.
Now, if that means we can't remember the planets, then that's fine.
There's only room for planets or oceans.
So much.
Well, I feel that even though the oceans are on the Earth, the planets are more relevant right now. So maybe I should work on that.
Well, okay, you take that and I'll still remember the
All right.
water
Well,
stuff.
between the two of us, we'll know.
Hudson, Nikki, The Riot, Radio U.
In New York City and in cities across the nation, people are struggling to find the cabs, the transportation they need.
At an affordable price.
Yes, at an affordable price. So here's the problem in New York City that, again, where we're experiencing so many people that are still, I guess, on unemployment, so they're not as interested in going back to work so quickly. The cab services aren't able to keep as many on the road. They just don't have enough people. So right now, there's a shortage of yellow cabs in New York City. We have this guy. He's a Ford executive named Sonny Madra, and he was tweeting out and sharing his story about how he had to take a trip from Midtown to JFK, the airport in New York City. Normally, he would get a yellow cab. It would cost him about $52.
That's not bad.
He couldn't find a yellow cab because there's such a shortage of them.
So he took
there's
an
about
Uber?
half as many, and the Uber charged him $248.90.
$262.
$262.
There was tax.
No, the $262, Nikki, that was his. He was going to the airport. That was his plane ticket.
Oh my gosh! How is it that much money?
So he should have just flown from Midtown to JFK.
It could have been cheaper. Wow. So yeah, he was showing that his Midtown or his Manhattan to JFK, $248.90 compared to his price for his plane ticket to go from New York to San Francisco. That was a good plane ticket price.
Yeah, that is a good deal, actually. I wonder if that flight was direct.
They were saying that before COVID. So if you look at February 2020, then there was 11,400 yellow cabs available.
Right.
Now in New York City, back in April, there was 4,900.
Right.
And they're saying that because there's so less competition, ride sharing is coming in and taking over these cities.
Yeah.
And they're setting their prices and they're setting them way too high.
Yeah.
But then people feel like they're forced to pay because they need to get to one place to another.
You have to get from one place to another for sure, and like leave it to like Uber to make taking the New York City subway seem like a good option.
It's not just Uber though. Lyft is also doing it. They're increasing their prices on purpose because they realize that there's not a chance for you to get some other ride to go somewhere, because a lot of people in New York just don't have cars.
Yeah, of course. So and you do. It takes so long to get through the city if you were to try to drive yourself. You know, like it's just not worth it to have it, and you have to park it and whatever. But the other thing is, like, you're wondering, well, how come there's so many Ubers and Lyfts compared to the yellow cabs? Uber is spending $250 million on temporary bonuses to get people out on the road, to get people hired, or to keep people to stay driving. Whereas, like the cab companies can't afford that much.
So New York drivers are currently making about $38 an hour plus the tips.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I want to Uber, well, get on to New York City.
Yeah, really.
Or at least get to some city. They say if you're in the city that just doesn't have what would have been cabs beforehand, that Uber and Lyft drivers, you can make so much money. But then if you're just wanting to get a ride, that's not good to hear.
Yeah, definitely not.
What you're about to hear will live on the internet forever. Sorry, internet. The worst of the Riot podcast.
It's, I guess, comforting to learn that there's something that bothers Hudson, and it's real.
This is a real problem for me.
It is absolutely real.
I'm seeing this woman. She's set the world record. She's just passed her own world record for having the world's longest eyelashes.
And that freaks you out because they're just so long?
It really bothers me. I have a thing about hair, so
But you have long hair. I mean, they're not on your
different.
eyes, but
It's attached to my head, and I can handle if I just see a stray hair. Like if your stray hair was on the board or on my keyboard or whatever. That's one thing.
But
there's certain instances of hair that really upset me, and especially with these super long eyelashes for this woman.
Well, for her, it's not just like one. I mean, it's her eyelashes, and so they come down her face. And she believes that after spending 480 days in the mountains years ago, that this has been a gift given by the Buddha to bless her with long eyelashes. But actually, everybody's wondering because
glad he's chosen her and not the rest of not anybody I know either. Oh my gosh.
I think with this, when I first saw them, I'm like, well, wait, do our eyelashes grow?
Right. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
We don't trim our eyelashes, but for her, they don't really have a medical explanation as to why.
Yeah.
But she just said that
it's just a gift.
They just started growing and they're that long now.
I would think you would get self-conscious about it and you would want to get rid of, keep them to an appropriate length.
So the eyelashes come down. She, I think, just gathers them and then pulls them maybe around her ears. So she says she doesn't have to wear makeup because the eyelashes give her a natural sort of eye makeup sort of look.
But they do. Sure they do. Yep.
She's used to them. She doesn't have any problem. They're over 4 inches long.
They come all the way down her cheek. To me, it looks like if she has them down, it kind of looks like she's crying and her makeup is running.
It does.
Doesn't it?
It does. Like mascara's running. Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. I keep thinking, besides that, it's just disgusting to me. And you know what? It's her own choice. It's her own life. And she's been blessed with this gift. And now she gets news stories and is in the Guinness World Records.
Never wants to meet you.
I don't want to meet her. And I just have so many questions about how you can live like that, because wouldn't it irritate you to have your eyelashes hanging down over your eyes?
I bet you get used to it. She says she wants to be kind of a part of the different beauty world where people that have the super, super long nails and kind of if we
consider that beauty also, the really long nails that curl up until
if you have something that maybe puts you in the running for a Guinness World Record, she's real into that. Now, her eyelashes...
you know what this is? This is setting unrealistic body standards for all of us. We can't compete with her beauty, with her long eyelashes.
So she broke her own record because her eyelashes were about 4.88 inches. But then there's one rogue one. So there's a new longest eyelash, and it's not the whole thing, but this one eyelash on the side is 8 inches long.
Oh my God.
It's worse, Hudson.
The straggler. We talked earlier this week how I hate the beard stragglers that are longer, or I know when you shave your legs and you miss the one hair, and that will bother you so much. Why would the 8-inch hair not bother you?
This is the upper eyelid on her left eye, and that is the longest eyelash out of them all, and it's 8 inches, and it's now the world record.
I just wonder, I just keep thinking about how if you, when you're a kid and you learn you can flip your eyelids up.
Oh, yeah.
And what if she ties her eyelashes up like in her bun or whatever, and it makes her eyelids flip up.
I think you're just so weirded out. You think she must just do things with these all day.
Yeah,
but
wouldn't you just mess with them?
She just leaves them alone. It's just her eyelashes.
What if your eyelash gets caught in something?
Okay,
oh no, and it gets pulled out, and no, there goes your record.
I'm sorry, Hudson can't handle anymore.
I can't do this, and don't even if. I don't know if I want to reveal this, but like the worst thing to me is if you get in the shower and there's hair everywhere. The long wet hair. That's my.
This one's not.
That's
everywhere.
my kryptonite.
This is on her eyes. They stay there.
But they have to fall out at some point, right?
I don't think you shed them quite like your hair.
You don't think? I hope not.
I don't even want to search it.
Do your eyelashes fall out? I'll have to look it up.
The Riot with Hudson and Nikki. Oh my God, no way. On Radio U.
No way, no way.
It's time for Nikki and I's favorite segment, Anime Time. We need a good catchy name for it.
I watched the He-Man trailer yesterday, and then I tried to remember, like, okay, so He-Man, because She-Ra came out. Is She-Ra like sisters to He-Man?
I don't know. I think they're related. In some way,
like they boyfriend girlfriend.
They're in the same Master of the Universe,
okay,
but I don't know if they are like siblings or how that works out.
I wasn't sure, like, because I was used to She-Ra's reboot on Netflix.
Yeah, that was popular.
And now Netflix is with Kevin Smith rebooting the Masters of the Universe He-Man anime, and that is coming out. Masters of the Universe Revelation will premiere on Netflix on July 23rd. The first part of it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I watched it here without the sound.
Why'd you turn the sound on?
Because I can on this computer.
Oh, you can?
So
you could have come over here.
Yeah, I guess I could have, or watched it on my phone. Yeah, I wasn't that invested. I like He-Man. I like the old He-Man cartoons. This one is a little more anime than I prefer for animated things.
Style-wise for the animation, though, it's that style I like.
Yeah.
Like, they did a nice job with it.
But I do trust, this is the kind of thing I think Kevin Smith would excel at. Mm-hmm. So I'm mildly interested, but at the end of the day, I probably won't wind up watching it.
It looks like it's going to be 5 episodes for the first part of it for Masters of the Universe. And I guess the cast, because Kevin Smith is going to do a single after show special that'll air with it.
Okay.
And he's going to host it, and then he'll be joined by cast members. So I think voicing He-Man stuff, Mark Hamill is Skeletor.
Ooh, that is a good casting choice.
Chris Wood is He-Man.
Okay.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is Teela.
That's a name you haven't heard in a long time.
Henry Rollins is Triclops.
Okay.
Griffin Newman is Orko. Boy, when you're not familiar.
I'm sure this means something to somebody.
Someone's just like, wow,
I recognize
Orko, yay!
Some of the actors' names. Mark Hamill, obviously he's Luke Skywalker, but also very well known in voice acting because he did a really good job with the Joker in the animated Batman stuff. So him doing Skeletor makes a lot of sense. It really does.
Chad for texting says He-Man and She-Ra are siblings. They were just separated at birth, and they live in 2 different dimensions, of course.
Oh, darn. So we'll never get to see them interact?
I'm not sure.
There goes that. That's going to be a hard universe for them to build here on Netflix.
Well, that's the Masters of the Universe. That was trending yesterday if you watched the He-Man trailer. It's from Kevin Smith. It's animated. The first half is 5 episodes. Netflix on July 23rd.
And that's mildly interesting to me. And then there's other animated news that we're getting a Lord of the Rings anime show as well, which is much like the musical, the Friends musical. Mm-hmm. Lord of the Rings anime is. I'm totally out on that. That's all. It's all you, Nikki. It's all you. You can report back.
Well, the Lord of the Rings thing that's problematic is, I mean, we've been waiting for, I think we'll be dead by the time the Amazon Lord of the Rings stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it will. So if it's coming from the same thing, why bother talking about it? It's never going to happen.
But this one at least has a picture of the title card.
It's got something.
They've made some kind of something out of it.
I don't know. I don't even feel like talking about it because it's like it's never happening.
And this one is just a movie.
Yes, it is.
Not just a movie. It's a movie. It's not a series.
Mm-hmm,
so I don't want to
animated.
diminish it for anybody who's a fan of Lord of the Rings and or anime that's going to watch it.
Riot Podcast, RadioU.
Nikki recently pointed out this interview to me. It's Ewan McGregor, who, I mean, he's been around for a long time. Maybe you think of him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, or maybe you think of him as, isn't he in Moulin Rouge? Like, those are two very different worlds. But that's his range. He's got a lot of range, doesn't he, Nikki?
I'm sure he was in between a lot of other stuff. He's not just those two roles.
You know what he was in? He was in the third, one of the seasons of the Fargo TV show that I didn't finish.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. He played two characters. He played twins.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I should have finished the show, and it was really good, and I didn't. That's my most familiar Ewan McGregor moment.
I still wish sometimes when actors, do these roles and they put their heart in it, and it's this big creative thing, and they want you to watch, start to finish.
That's right.
And then they meet everybody, the normies, all of us who are like, I watched a few episodes.
I got 6 episodes in, and it's not that I didn't like it. I just couldn't find the time for the next 4.
It might even be worse that you do like it, but you don't want to finish it, and they can't get you to finish it.
He would be so upset that I didn't get to see the two characters' full entire arcs. Well, nevertheless, the interview. He did an interview on a podcast where he was talking about, he's 50 now.
Yeah.
He's been sober for about 20 years, but he dealt with addiction for about 4 years back in the late 90s, shortly after he did a film called Trainspotting, where he played an addict. I don't think playing the addict was what made him become addicted to alcohol and drugs, but it just so happened at the same time.
It was just kind of the right after it was then just realizing it.
Yep.
Sometimes when you play a role of an addict, because he's playing a new Netflix character on Hudson.
Yep.
And on that show for Netflix, he's playing an addict.
Right,
so that's why he was talking about it.
He was saying in the interview that it gives you a whole different perspective when he's been through the life of an addict. He's been there before, playing an addict in Trainspotting before he became an addict, and now playing an addict after he was really an addict in real life. You just have a whole different perspective. And one of the things he said, like now when he looks back or when he looks at his life, you don't realize when you are addicted how much joy and happiness and peace that those are his words that you're missing out on, and that's what he is experiencing
when
now.
He's sober,
being sober, and it's so true for so many of us. We're living through things right now where you are experiencing something and you don't know what is on the other side of how good things could be if they were different. I mean, obviously, if you're going through addiction, you probably know, like, this isn't the best. If you're going through certain things, you know, this isn't the best, but you don't really understand how fully great things can be if you can come out of that. And sometimes that might be the motivation you need. Well, I want to let you know right now that God, like, that's actually starts with a relationship with God, where once you understand Jesus and once you have him in your life, that is the first step of, wow, I didn't know that life could be this way. It's like putting on a new pair of glasses when when your prescription is really out of date or something like that. When you didn't realize, like, yeah, you thought you could kind of see, but no, like there's a whole different world of actually being able to see. God wants to come into your life and give you that joy and happiness and peace that the way you're living life right now, you didn't even understand could exist. You didn't know that you could walk through life a different way. Jesus is ready to come in, and you don't have to do anything special. You don't have to end the addiction today to experience what God can do for you. He's ready to come in and actually help you with whatever those difficult things you're experiencing are. And if you want that, it's as simple as saying, God, I want that. I'm ready to change. I'm ready for something different. I'm ready to find out who you are. So Jesus, I want you to talk to me. I want you to fill me with your love and your spirit and show me a different way of living. And he can do that for you. He not only can, he will. And it all starts whenever you're ready for it to start. And if you want to know more, RadioU.com/free gifts.
So Ewan McGregor was saying how he was like considered a happy drunk in the beginning. But later he said he was miserable and it was more of a depressant. But he didn't see that until after. And he said he just became ashamed of himself. But then when he found his way through that, then he found that happiness. And now looking back, it's like, wow, it's a whole different world now.
Yeah, it's really, some people will look back, and even if you do get like kind of out of your addictions or out of whatever it is, like the bad habits you might have, you can look back, and some people look with a lot of regret, but like a lot of that isn't necessarily your fault. Once you start going down the road, but once you get a different perspective on life, you can look at that and just say, that was a totally different life I was living. And now things are different.
Now
and it's so much better.
Giving every novelty food the publicity it so blatantly desires. It's The Riot on Radio U.
This story is being presented as this woman is a bridezilla. She is getting married. And the reason she's going viral, she's posted a TikTok where she's showing a contract that she has put out for all of her bridesmaids.
Oh, to be a part of like the bridal party?
Yes, and it's detailing all of the expectations, which feels like a bit much. But basically what she seems to be doing is laying out, here's what you need to pay for, and here's what I will cover for you.
So they kind of know?
Yeah,
so I went through some of hers. By the way, if you've never, like, if you hate going to weddings, you should try being in a wedding.
Oh, it's even worse.
It's even worse.
It's none of the good things about being in or going to a wedding.
It's way
and you
worse.
still have to go to a wedding.
But I mean, if your friend or a family member is getting married, sometimes that's just what you do.
Yeah, you have to.
I went through some of her stuff, and it's not like she was really a bridezilla. It was more like, hey, to help her friends realize before you commit.
Right.
This is what she'll pay for. This is what you pay for. None of it seemed odd. It was pretty traditional about what, you cover.
Yeah.
But not everybody realizes that if you're going to be in a bridal party, it's going to take time, and it will take some of your own money.
Yep.
So I actually didn't think it was too bad.
No.
I think everybody just wanted to make her into a bridezilla.
Yeah, because it's like, look at this bridezilla making her bridesmaids pay for stuff, and she's going to make them sign a contract to make sure they pay.
It wasn't even really a contract. It was just an outline.
Right. And it's... it's not the worst thing to know when you're getting into, because I've been a part of 2 different weddings where it kind of just kept going on. It was like, oh, I guess I'm paying for that. Oh, I guess I'm paying for that.
And you didn't know ahead of time.
So when you don't know ahead of time, you just wind up paying for everything. That can be kind of a bummer. Although, again, it's such the thing of, I was a best man, and it's like, what are you going to say? No? Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to pay for those shoes, so I'm out.
That's what she said in this. She said, if you don't want to, then that's great, but everybevery knows ahead of time.
Yeah.
So then if you do say no because you live too far away, or it's too much money, or, you don't want to, because again, you don't want to.
Yeah.
You need to, if your friends are starting to get married, you need to lay low around that time, so you don't make your way into all these bridal parties.
Just so happen, as soon as you get the save the date in the mail, schedule your vacation for something that you cannot move.
Or, you really don't look the best. Maybe you're coming down with something. Something that will last a really long time.
You got COVID. Can't come.
And if you don't want to have COVID, you could just say you've been exposed.
Yeah, you just aren't sure. COVID was the great savior for people that hated weddings, except for those weddings that just went on despite the COVID. And I know, I've heard so many stories, and you've seen them in the news, of people where it's like, I really don't want to go to the wedding because I'm concerned about the virus, and everybody else doesn't seem to be that's going to be there.
That's right.
It's ruining families, ruining friendships. And, that's what weddings can do sometimes, I guess.
So I don't think it's bad. Everybody was just trying to make something out of her. But if you do have someone who wants you to be a part of a party, I think it's actually helpful just to let them know what they expect of you and what you need to be concerned about. And then if you can't, you can't. If you can, then have a good time.
Yeah. And after the wedding that I was a part of more recently, I just appreciate her communication and actually letting people know ahead of time what's going on, where you're not just flying by the seat of your pants and figuring it all out as you go, because that's what I went through.
Well, if you have to fly by the seat of your pants, you might be paying for the pants.
They're going to be paying to fly. You're going to be paying for it all.
You pay for everything, and then you hate the person.
Yep. I'm telling you, ruining friendships. It's just, you hope the marriage lasts, because your relationship isn't going to.
So maybe it's better you don't be in the party. That way it doesn't ruin the relationship, and you just can't do it.
I just prefer to enjoy it as a guest.
Yeah. Trevor just texted in, said, the contract part, communication is one thing, but signing a contract, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, feels like a lot.
I don't think she was making them sign a contract. I think they were just talking about other bridezillas who have done that in the past.
Right, yeah. But because that's definitely a thing, and that's taking it another level. But I'm in on this. I'm on this bridezilla's side. She's a good bridezilla. She's the good bridezilla.
The worst podcast with the best listeners. This is the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Swearing, Nikki.
Yes.
We're doing it.
Well, not here.
Not here.
And of
Well,
course,
we're not allowed.
Not
so.
in our private lives as
No,
well.
of course not. Absolutely.
But
Wouldn't dream of it.
They are saying that it is a more common form of communication, and you're hearing it more no matter where you look at.
Yes, this is this new research published from the British Board of Film Classification, which, like they're rating movies, R, PG-13, whatnot, for in the UK.
The BBFC.
Yes, as we'll shorten it from now on, but the F doesn't it stands for film, just
Not
to be
the
clear.
other way?
It's not the British Broadcasting something else.
I was like, wait, what's the other letters for? I don't want to hear it.
So what they're saying is that, first of all, swearing has gone up since the last time we did this research 5 years ago.
In entertainment stuff? Or just
in everyday lives.
Everyday lives.
They say a report on swearing habits, it says they surveyed 1,000 people, found about 6 in 10 saw strong swearing, such as using the F word, film, as part of everyday life.
Someone listening's like, oh, that's the word?
Oh, no, I've been
saying it all the time to my parents.
Yeah, oh no. And then let's see, a third were more likely to swear than 5 years ago. But there was a significant, they say, generational divide between people who are 18 to 34. And they feel like those were more likely to swear and be desensitized to its impact compared to older people, where strong swear words still seem to be a problem, especially if you're over 65.
I know a lot of people that it's just moved into the everyday vocabulary.
Yeah.
And so you need to have, they need to make other stronger swear words that replace what used to be the swear words.
Yeah, right.
But I don't hear a lot of people where you're like, oh, what's that you said? What word is that? We don't have any new ones.
Right.
But it is weird when you hear an older person, like you hear if you ever catch your grandparents swearing and stuff, that is weird.
Well, sometimes you encounter those older folks, though, where they get to an age where they feel like they just don't care anymore.
Yeah, they go back.
They're just like, whatever, what are you going to do about it?
Well, there's, I watch a lot of, freak out videos on forums on Reddit. Thank you for a couple of groups that I'm a part of. And man, it's always older people. And they're just like, oh, what are you saying?
Yeah, they're going wild. They are just.
Everybody's more comfortable with it.
They're losing it. But it is true. If I always find when I'm scrolling through TikTok or, you're watching the cute pet compilation sometimes I'll do, with my wife or whatever. You're just watching. I don't have to justify it. Sometimes I watch cute pet compilations and just out of nowhere is when you'll see the swearing and it's just it's just your dog. What's going on? Why are you yelling like that?
They just say
but people are just kind of more and more just letting it slide.
They're saying that the word to you is normalized in especially online content that we watch.
Yep.
And then I think the more we watch online, the more you're like, oh, there's the word.
It makes it more normal and it's such a cycle, isn't it?
And then you're like, where'd I learn that word? And you're like, it's from the dog video. I'm sorry.
I do. Thinking of this from a film classification rating standpoint, because what they're also through all of this study, they're finding that people are swearing more, but they also wanted to point out that people don't want the rating system to change.
Oh, on
where
movies.
They don't want kids, they're watching PG movies, and that means where they've upped the amount of swears that could be in a PG movie.
I see.
And to me, I thought about that and I was like, when I was a kid, I don't think that it was the swearing that was really corrupting me. You know what I mean? There's a lot of other things, I guess not in PG movies, but the more, that's the thing where if you feel like you have to really watch what kids are watching it's not as much with the cursing to me. But then again, in another 5 years, it'll be like, wow, people are swearing even more because kids are allowed to curse in PG movies now.
I've seen a few movies that would have been, they're too older for us.
Yeah.
But yet when you watch sometimes those classic movies, you're like, wait, that worked for a movie? How are you having that in the movie?
Yeah.
So it feels like it just changes. But they're saying it's much more normalized in everything we watch.
Actually, it's... When you do think about it, it takes you aback so much if you do watch a movie that's meant for kids.
Oh, and then
it does have a curse. You're like, what? You just really get thrown for a loop on that one.
You're like, it's not my ears, guys. No, my special ears.
What was the one, The Incredibles, where they used, I don't even remember the word, but it was a controversy because it was like, how could they use that? And people really got upset.
The D word.
Oh, no.
That was, I think, the one they put in there.
Yeah, you can't have your kids saying that or hearing it.
You almost missed hearing this one. We just couldn't let that happen. The worst of the riot. Radio U.
I just keep thinking how, I entered the show at a real good time for show content.
Yeah.
Because we have so much stuff going on with the cicadas that, in a couple weeks, that's going to get a lot harder. We're going to need another national nightmare.
We'll see something else
have to talk about every day.
That happens because, even going back a week or so ago, in our area, it's not the worst. They're now louder and you can see more of them.
Yep.
But I feel like in certain parts of the country where you'll see here's the construction worker and he's covered in them. Or if you walk outside and there's just thousands of them.
Yep.
I still don't feel like we're right where that is, but I don't want to find myself there.
I feel sometimes where I'm pretty close. If you're driving around town, you might find yourself in the right area, or you might just get lucky because right where the studio is, you can't even hear them.
No,
which is
quiet.
crazy. Yeah. But we were talking about how after we talked about the Poohberg falling from the sky,
sorry if you missed it.
Yeah, that's not only could you be hit by that, it's probably a lot more likely if you're in an area with cicadas where you're going to be hit by cicada urine.
So they pee all the time, apparently. And when I watched some videos on it on TikTok, everybody's like, is this true or not? Because it looks like it's them just on tree branches. And I promise you, the amount that they're pottying looks unhealthy and just it looks
How
like
can they actually contain that much moisture?
But you were saying it's from the sap?
Yes. Well, it looks like it's a cow being milked. That's
That's the worst way you can describe it. To me, it looks like a water gun, or
a fountain at the Bellagio in Vegas, something like that.
Something impressive.
In the video we're watching, where they're all lined up on the tree, it almost looks there's almost something artistic about it. It's all just shooting off in different directions
because they're peeing,
and it's they're in sync. You could sync it up to a song.
But how is
maybe dancing fountains?
How is it possible that they do this?
Well, Paula Shrewsbury, she's a professor of entomology at the University of Maryland, said, it feels like when a rain just starts and you get a small drop or two and say, is it starting to rain? Instead, now you say, is that cicada pee? Because it's little specks of wet and it never gets any stronger than that, is what she says.
That it's real.
And then we had, here's why. As adults, cicadas are active on the hottest days because they can tap into the dilute, watery xylem fluid of deciduous trees.
Oh, so they're getting it from that.
And then evaporation of moisture cools their bodies by as much as 5 to 10 degrees. And the excess of fluids forces them to pee liberally. And this is from a learned doctor that is sharing this with us.
Can't they just die? When are we getting that happening?
That's another problem of its own, but at least they're not peeing on you once they're dead.
And they just pee one last time and they fall from the tree and they're dead. I just think it'd be nice if we were done with them now.
Well, the nice thing is, we've had a lot of rain lately in the area, so you just won't even know. It'll just blend right in.
They'll wash away, or we don't know they're peeing on us.
Yeah, I'm glad the rain is disguising the tears in my eyes that are formed by the cicada pee that's falling on me because I'm so upset that this is happening.
Well, if you're in an area where they are on the trees, I think you really do need to watch it.
Keep your mouth closed.
No, don't go near it.
Yeah, don't go near it. But if you are, keep your mouth closed.
No, take it a few steps back. Don't even go outside. What are you doing?
Just stay far away.
Good try, Hudson.
The equivalent of someone's lint collection. This is the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Basically, Chris was telling us how he hasn't heard a single cicada. And I was like, are you sure you haven't heard an abundance of yard work in your neighborhood? But it's not yard work.
It's not weed whackers. It's the cicadas. He must just be inside the whole time or something.
I don't know. Every area is different for what you're hearing and what you're not hearing.
Chris lives in a concrete jungle.
That's it.
And Nikki and I are out in nature. We live near the trees.
Apparently, but even I'll go in different parts of my neighborhood and it'll just be like a chorus over here and silence over there. And it really depends on if the trees behind you are old enough.
Right.
I think that's the biggest difference for some areas.
You know what I was thinking was really weird is where the studio is.
Yeah.
They call it Tree City, USA.
But
you would think we would have a lot of cicadas.
But what's around us?
What do you mean, farmland?
Yeah.
But there are trees, though. Not that far away.
No.
Just not enough. Not enough.
I think they tore most of those things, and so that's why we don't hear them here at Radio U.
Yeah, well, if you just take the I'm not saying the like turn right. I just mean if you take the right turn out of the studio, you soon enough will find the cicadas. You will.
They'll be there. Say that ominously.
If you, they'll find you.
So that they can pee on you.
Yeah, right. You know what? Chris doesn't have it so bad, just avoiding them completely. Good for him.
That would be good.
You know where I wonder if you can avoid the cicadas in basically a lot of the Asia Pacific region. And maybe that's why they're so high on this list of the most livable cities in the world.
So the economist.
Economist?
I hate that word.
Economist.
Wow. In my mind, that is coming out something different.
The economy. You don't want the economy going bad. It's taking a turn for the worst.
The EIU basically released a list of livable cities globally. So the world's most livable cities in 2021. So this year, they gave the top 10 rankings. So even with pandemic stuff still going around, they say that. And city decline is still real, because people want to move away from higher populated areas.
Right.
So even with all that, what's the livable cities for people where they want to be?
Well, I'll start at number 5 and count us down.
Sure.
Number 5 is Tokyo, Japan. Number 4, Wellington, New Zealand. Number 3, Adelaide, Australia. 2, Osaka, Japan. And number 1, Auckland, New Zealand. So I'm sensing a bias here, maybe.
It's a lot of Australia. It's a lot of New Zealand. Switzerland came in still up to 10 with Zurich and Geneva for both of those.
Switzerland is the only, if you look at the top 10, the only country that's not in the Asia Pacific
It's called
region.
the Livability Index, and it ranks cities based on 30 factors: stability, healthcare, culture, environment, education, and infrastructure.
Yep.
And they say that because New Zealand and even Australia were able to lock down easier than more larger areas, that has led to them being higher on this list during this year.
Livable just literally means you won't die as likely there.
Pretty much. That's it.
I do question the ranking just because, or I guess I just don't know if I want to be number 1, because it's like
best?
if you're Auckland, New Zealand, it's like, come to Auckland, we're livable. It's not exactly like a real great adjective for your town.
For New Zealand, and I think I know for like Japan, like you can go there and you can travel and you can stay for a while, but like especially Japan, you can't really, like, unless you're there, you can't really move and stay there the whole time and like become a resident of it. But they are still relatively open when it comes to healthcare systems, with COVID and their response towards it.
Yep.
Let's see, Honolulu was the biggest gainer on the index.
Okay.
That was also locked down more.
Yeah.
Moving up 46 places.
Because these are island nations, a lot of them. So they're more isolated in a way, or Honolulu, an island state, or you're just isolated from everything, which when you're coming to the virus, that's actually kind of good.
They say that did help them during that time. They said Asia ranked well below North America and Western Europe, according to the EIU. They say that, there's other parts where there's more unrest and stuff. They are farther down as a livable city.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder I would guess it's Honolulu based off of the city, based off of the rankings. It was 14th. So I guess that was the top American city.
I would love to live in Japan.
You would?
I would pick that totally.
You don't think it would be too crowded for you or anything like that?
Nope. I would just be like, hey, Nikki's in Japan now.
I think we should do it for the show. We'd have a whole different area of content we could cover.
I want to live somewhere else where it's like vacation living and suddenly you're way more wealthier. You don't have a job.
We all?
You're just having a really good time and you live there.
I think I would turn that down.
The worst of the riot is over, but the fun can keep going.
Hey, I saw you checking out my goods.
Check the Riot blog or stalk us on social media.
You want to sample them? A little try before you buy, huh?
Through riot.radiou.com.